everyone, thank you for watching another YouTube episode of Alpha Simulation. And today we are going to go into some other type of series of video that I'm going to show within the course of the next few weeks or maybe a couple of months, because we have a lot to demonstrate to you. So what we're going to do, we're going to show you the testing, the setup and the testing of every module. For the first episode of testing, we are going to demonstrate you the yokes, the dual yokes here from FBC, Fly-by Cockpit, and the dual rudders. Let's go into it. Okay, let's go straight into the setting up, the initial setting up of these dual links and the dual rudders. Of course, this is when it comes for FBC, Fly-by Cockpit, yokes and rudders. If you have different company, obviously you will have to follow their recommendation. Everything works with Ethernet cable. First of all, there are two Ethernet cable, one coming from each yoke. They are connected to this Ethernet splitter. Then there is the output that goes all the way, obviously there, because you need to connect that, and we will show this soon. So there is one Ethernet cable that goes there, and there is also another one. It's hard to see, but it's actually right there, and it goes all the way there, and the cable is for the just for the switches. From the dual rudder, you also have two Ethernet cable, and this is much easier to see if we go this way. So there is one coming this way for the captain section and one coming from the first offset. So overall you have four Ethernet cable. Now, how do you connect everything? So you have to purchase, if you purchase the Fly-by Cockpit rudders and yokes, you need to purchase this, I call it black box. Basically it is a black box, and very intuitive, very simple to understand. And another thing, so you have the power. Okay, so this is a simple power low voltage power cable. They is connected all the way with an extender USB to my main PC, because everything is controlled by main PC. I'm using only one PC to control the entire simulator. Okay, so let's go into the software and see exactly what we need to do. So when you connect the USB power to your main PC, automatically the driver will be installed, just like a normal joystick. And then if you go into your game controller, as you can see, it's already registered. I don't have to redo it again, but I can show you. When you go into your game USB controller, you will see obviously that it's already been registered. You can select the preferred device, and when you go to property, this is where you can calibrate your yokes and rudder pedals. Go into your flight simulator. I'm using Prepare 3D again, but I think it will be the same as all the other simulator. So once you go there, it's not necessary to choose anything there. You can go directly into option. Okay. Directly option, one thing, and this is also written in the ProSim, one thing that you need to do is to go straight into your joystick key assignment and axis assignment and delete all of them. Okay, so if you see something here, basically the axis, elevator axis, and you see some control, just click there and click delete. The other things you need to do also is to you go into other controls, obviously in Prepare 3D, and when you see this enable controller, this is by default activate, you need to deactivate. Okay, one thing also is what you wanna check is that if you have set up your joystick into the FSUI PC, you need to also delete all those key assignment there. You open the ProSim system, and Okay, so I do have a couple of things connected and they're starting up, but the moment we are gonna skip that. So as you can see in the beginning, when you turn on ProSim for the first time, you are not gonna see flyby copy. Okay, so this is the input-out module that drives the yokes and the rudder. You will not see this. What you have to do, you have to go to config, you go to configuration, and the first thing you need to do is to go into drivers. And in drivers, I have, for me to make things work perfectly, I have to enable direct input support for joystick. And this is if you use any other joystick that you wanna program through ProSim. So you press OK. If I remember, ProSim will restart, and then automatically it will identify the flyby cockpit. So the next things to do once he restarts, you go into configuration again, but this time you go into combine config. So you go into flight control, and in flight control you will have a different section. Now you need to find where it is. Are you trying to configure a switch, or you try to configure the lever? I started by configuring the elevator and the aileron. For me, that was the first point of view. So I click there, and you can see here all the configuration that you need. So let's make this bigger. Okay, so you have ailerons first offset, and then you go and you have ailerons captain, and so on. Okay, so you start with the first one. You need to analog input means that it's basically receiving an input analog from so you turn in left and right, bank left and right, so it's an analog input. You don't use this when you wanna use a switch, for example. In this case, we don't have switch, it's more analog input. You of course select initially it's on by default is not connected, but you select the flyby cockpit. There is only one, so it's easy to find. And then now here's the things. Okay, you know that we have the 3 axes that the plane moves. So we have the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis, and depending on which axis you need, you can either have the elevator, you can either have the rudder, you can either have the ailerons. I don't think they actually correspond to the correct axis, because sometimes I was getting confused myself. But don't worry too much about the word in x-axis. All you have to do is to if you don't know if it's the x-axis or if it's y-axis, all you have to do is to start from the first one and go through and see where you can actually see the movement. So you will need another person. While you select this, another person will move, for example, will bank left and then bank right with your with the yokes. And when you see that finally something moves, you find the correct axis. Once you find the correct axis, then what you need to do is you leave a center so you don't touch it, and then you click set center. Then you ask the person to bank all the way to the left, and obviously you are using the first offset, but because it's dual linked, it doesn't really matter if you're using the captain or the first offset. But I follow, you know, for maybe it's me that everything has to be perfect, so I follow, you know, the first offset. So I was telling the person, go to the first offset and go all the way to the left, bank left. And when you bank left all the way to the maximum, then you click set max left. Then you do the same for the right, all the way to the right, and then you set the max right. So then you leave it alone and go back to the center. You go to the next, so this time you do the aileron captain. Again, you select the flyby cockpit, you choose the axis. Now, obviously, if for the first offset the aileron was the x-axis, the captain would be the same axis. So in the case, it's very easy. Again, you leave it alone, you set the center, bank to the left, set max left, bank to the right, all the way to the right, and set maximum right. Now, I want to show you actually how it looks like when you actually move left and right. As you can see, if you move all the way to the left, well, all the way to the left, and then all the way to the right, you can see the calibration for the captain aileron. Okay, so that's how you can test and see if it works quite fine. You then continue and go one by one. The next will be the elevator. Same things. In this case, for me was the y-axis reverse. Again, you don't touch anything. You set the center. Then you go all the way down and you set max down. You go all the way up and you set the max up. And as you can see, this one is also a little bit towards the right. So one thing, if you wanna recenter, try to recalibrate. You can calibrate this as much as you want. You can also see the center is here, so probably I can just click center again and it will adjust itself, or maybe I need to recalibrate. By the moment I'm satisfied. You obviously need to go a little bit more in details, but this is the next step. Then you do the same for the elevator captain. Okay, the rudder is pretty much the same things. Again, you choose fly by cockpit, you try to find the axis, and then you don't touch it and you set the center. You then, in this case, we are rudder first offset. You ask a friend, or maybe you can do yourself. If you have a laptop close by, you can do the two together. You push the rudder, left rudder all the way, and then you set the max left, and then you push the rudder all the way to the right, and you set the max right. So for me, this was, and you can see we're pretty much there. You do the same for the rudder captain. The tiller, it will work the same, but at the moment I did not connect the tiller yet. Now, in Prepare 3D, we do have I do have the PMDG NGXU, and I also have obviously the flight details for ProSim, so I can show you. So I do have the standard PMDG. When you purchase PMDG, they will give the standard dash 800 NGXU that you can see, but obviously when you purchase ProSim will also give you all these flight details for their own ProSim. So when you actually use the simulator for real, then you will have to use the ProSim, because you don't see the cockpit, you just see the runway, and that's what you want in your projector system. At the moment, to show you how everything works, I'm using the PMDG because we can see obviously the yoke moves, and obviously the rudder pedal moves also. I do not have the tiller yet, but the tiller will work obviously. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you exactly how the two are working together. Okay, so we are going to move to the left and then move to the right gently, then we go up, then we go down. Now I don't know if you can see, but the trim will also work, the push to talk buttons also work, and the autopilot disconnect works. You can test this by setting up a flight, and perhaps you can see, but I can guarantee you it works. This is just to show you how everything is connected. The same with the pedal. I will try to move the pedal. So first of all, obviously we have the brake and the other brake, and you can see that when I push, can you see the red section, which it also gives indication that you are pulling the brake. And then if you push together also, it shows the brake. So it's not differential anymore. Differential brake, and then together will give the brake. I also test this with the parking brake, because you can push the two, and then release or engage the parking brake. The ailerons, a little bit difficult to do from this position, but it's this is okay. So the aileron, as you can see, work. Go the other way. Okay. And so forth. You can also see. I should have done maybe. If I was a little bit smart, I should have changed the system, and I should have showed you here. Maybe oops. Okay, let's do this. As you can see, it's all centered. Let's do this one more time, very fast. There you go. Perfectly calibrated. Up, down. One thing that I didn't show you, I forgot before, is the switches. How do you connect the switch? So again, go into the combine driver, go into fly controls, and then you will see switches. And in the switches, now there are a lot of switches. Don't get confused. You only need to set up the one that you need, like I did. Again, how do I know which button to choose? You go back into your USB game controller. So you will push, for example, the trim switch, and it will give you which button illuminates, and then you remember that you will write down. Then you will switch. You will push the push to talk button. It will give you the number. You will push the autopilot disengage, and it will give you another number. So I wrote all this number, and then once you do that, it was actually quite easy. You go into switches, and you find the one that you need to set up. So the trim, why do we have, obviously we have captain and first officer. Why do we have one up and one down? Because each Yokes has two trim switches. One, I call it right, and one, the left one. So, okay, two switches. And these two switches, you can put them up and down. So if you say that the captain one is basically the right switches, then you will say, okay, for up is button 2, according to my previous setting. Down goes button 1. The second one is button 4 and button 3, and so forth. You do the same with the first officer. Remember that just because they are dual link, it doesn't mean that they're gonna have the same buttons. For example, they are actually reverse. So the one up corresponds to the 2 up for the first officer, and the 1 down for the captain will be the 2 down for the first officer, I believe, and so forth. So anyway, the elevator trim is there. Now the push to talk, it's no. I honestly don't remember where you find. I think it's called PTT. Okay, PTT gives me something. Door out unlock, door lock, nope. So as you can see, you need to find where exactly is the push to talk. Now I did this before. Oh, it must be here. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Okay. So it's not connected. I did connect it though. I don't remember why it is connected. Okay. It is here in switch. As you can see, you need to also understand how to search, because there are so many to search, and one way to make it easier, try to see how it's called the item you are trying to configure. So PTT, push to talk, automatically, if it's 0 means there is nothing there. Communication 7, so it's here. Now this one you need to figure out which one you need to do. Of course, will be, for me, will be the yoke. So you have the yoke push to talk for officer when it's normal. basically normal, it means it will not be connected. Normal means you are not pushing, you are not touching, so I don't want it to do anything. But when I push it, then I want it to be connected to my flyby cockpit, and then now I need to figure out which one is the buttons that connected to the push to talks. Okay, and again, to know which buttons you need to go, you go once again here, and then you go here, and then you push the PTT, see which one turn out, and then you just put that. So it's quite easy. For the sake of time, I will not show you, but I think you got the idea. And then you will do it again for the captain push. This is for return. I see return. So I also need to understand what the difference for all these are. Anyway, so once you do that, the best way, obviously, the good thing about ProSim is that you can connect. You can then go into Prepare 3D and check. And the good things about ProSim is that Prepare 3D, you don't have to, you can only put, you just need to put in minimize. You don't have to close and open every time. And so you can go directly here, change what you need to change, and then go back to Prepare 3D and test. And once you find the correct combination, you're done. Again, this is the PMDG. If it does not work, choose the other, the ProSim type of flight 737. That's all. Alright, so that's all, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. It is probably 10-20 minutes to explain how to do it, but it was a couple of days actually to figure out, and only because I was doing incorrectly through the use of FSU EPC. Now, if you do it and it works for you, then leave it, don't touch. By any means, don't touch anything. You know, they say if it's broken, do not fix it. So for me, it works better to do everything in ProSim. It's easier to go, change, establish the null zone, the sensitivity, which I still have to do. But why I haven't done it yet? Because at the moment I only want to test that everything works. Then after, when I connect everything together and I do my initial flight, my testing, then that's where you can see what type of sensitivity you need, and you can always go in ProSim and adjust. I think there will be a lot of adjustment, obviously, when I start to do the first takeoff, the first landing, and see how everything go. But for the moment, if you purchase flyby cockpit, yes, FBC, flyby cockpit, Yokes and dual rudders, that's how you connect everything. Very simple, it's like a joystick, just a little bit of configuration ProSim, and that's all. The next will be the throttle quadrant. We will see how the throttle quadrant from cockpit for you needs to be calibrated in order to work with ProSim and the rest of the simulator. Thank you, alla prossima, ciao!